if you've been around for a while, you know that we are in part 5 of the textbook talking about the teachings from the New Testament. And last week we concluded the first section, which was the teachings of Jesus from the New Testament. And now today our conclusion for this is other teachings from the New Testament. And what a blast we had. So we have both read the parts several times, and we decided we were going to each do a reread in the quiet, and then we were going to come together with our own ideas and answer the question, what is the one main takeaway from this section, this part of the book? And so we did, and as you can well imagine, we weren't on the same page, and yet we were. We had the most fun seeing each other and seeing the unfoldment of this talk occurring. And even up till yesterday, David came rushing out to me and he said, "Turn your book to page such and such," and it wasn't even in the reading, and he said, "Read that, it's everything we're talking about, and Ernest Holmes says it too." And so I read it and I said, "We'll use that as the conclusion unless you're going to use it because it's so good." And he said, "No, you use it as the conclusion because it's so perfect. So you'll get to hear it at the end." So here's what we discovered. David, he went first, and his one main takeaway was law. Most in particular, the law of correspondence. It takes a look at various ways in which law operates and how we use natural law consciously or subconsciously to create our lives. In science of mind, law, as we know, is the invisible action that always takes the idea planted into it and demonstrates it, unless another law is activated to stop, delay, or change the direction in which the thought has activated the law. It is, as you've heard us say many times, the law, the divine feminine aspect of God. Isn't it interesting that David chose the law, the divine feminine aspect? Evidence of the balance within him, that while he demonstrates on the masculine side of life, he shows up as both and relates well with the feminine side. Well, while I agree completely with everything he shared when he shared about law that he's going to share with you also, I took a totally different idea and takeaway from the reading as a one and only main idea. And so the idea that I took from the New Testament books and the reading was the golden thread of love of spirit that weaves itself throughout the stories, the teachings. I found the ideas that Ernest Holmes puts forth a compelling writing for becoming as God is. Becoming as God is. And that for me is our journey to consciously and purposefully fulfill our mission here on earth by both recognizing and realizing, making real our personal spiritual magnificence. Now, I've always been drawn to those words as a part of our home office mission vision, our spiritual magnificence. Ernest Holmes defines spiritual as the atmosphere of God. Wow. We are ever in experiencing an opportunity in each given moment to show up in an atmosphere of the spiritual magnificence. So I'm going to remind us of some of the qualities of God, and I do this a lot because this is you. This is me. This is who we are. Why? Because we are of God, and it is what God is. We couldn't be made of anything other than. And one of them is the beautiful word that Frank read today. I'm loving how the readings are so in alignment. Beauty, peace, love, joy, wisdom, freedom, harmony, abundance, wholeness, oneness. And again, we make the association of spirit with the divine masculine. We see that top aspect of the teaching symbol, the spirit, as the masculine side of life. And here I am, showing up in form as the feminine, while fully relating with the masculine side of life, the spirit, the perfect flow of life. So let's dive in to the beautifully interwoven ideas of love and law, and how perfectly they complement each other as they operate simultaneously in our lives personally, as well as the life of the universe.
I want to talk about that idea of the masculine and the feminine working together. And I remember in a class recently talking about how different parts of different words, different phrases, different aspects fit together in this chart. And the fact that love falls in the masculine part and law falls in the feminine part. And we quite often would think that love is something that's really feminine because women all feel love and guys are all kind of logical and less, I wouldn't say less loving, but you know what I'm saying. Guys are more logical.
Less emoting.
Less emoting, very good, thank you, very good. So love and law, respectively, the masculine and the feminine, are the aspects of the divine. Love being the unified principle and infinite possibility, and law being the receptive or creative aspect. They both work together. And to help you remember exactly how they fit together, maybe in terms of understanding that the way the reason that love is masculine and law is feminine, we can look at it this way, and it may be a little crude. I don't know if you see it this way, but love as a masculine plants a seed or impregnates the law as the feminine, which produces an offspring of manifest form. So if you can think of it that way, you can see that law is thought or idea, love is thought or idea. It's all the infinite realm of possibilities, and those thought energies are released into or received by the law, which then goes through the process of creating a manifest form. So thoughts and individual possibilities are seeds that are planted into the soil. And the soil is the agent of growth, where things actually come into manifestation. So, and our emotions infuse the energy into the process and initiate the manifestation process. So if you just kind of look at it that way, you can see how those terminologies kind of work in terms of masculine and feminine energies. Ernest Holmes describes this whole process as the law of correspondence. And I think it's pretty fascinating. I love talking about laws. Ernest Holmes says, the law of correspondence works from the belief to the thing. If we believe we shall have only a little good will come into our experience. The demonstration we make corresponds with our ability to provide a mental equivalent of our desire. Now notice he has the desire and the belief as the initiators of the process through that whole thing. He goes on to say, because thought is made of the stuff that forms the universe into definite creation, the law is charged with the power that we give it. No more and no less. It responds by correspondence. It is a mirror and a perfect one. It molds our ideas and beliefs into visible form and casts them back multiplied. It does not know what it is doing. It does not know that it is doing this, but it knows how to do it. This is one of the great enigmas of the universe. Holmes says it's one of the great enigmas of the universe. We don't exactly know how it works, but we do know that it does work. The law doesn't even know how to do it necessarily. I mean, it doesn't know that it is doing, but it knows how to do it. Does that make sense? Remember, the law is receptive. The law receives ideas and thoughts and works them through the creative growth process until they become manifest experiences for us to experience. I think it's interesting that he says the law is charged with the power that we give it. The law doesn't determine what is going to happen. The law is receptive to our thought, and it responds through the impressions that we give it, and then it responds. So I thought it's interesting. Look at the difference between respond and co-respond. And we know that the law responds, but how does it co-respond? Correspond. It's correspondence means is initiation, is a conversation back and forth. Response simply means it receives only, but it constantly corresponds with our thought processes. So as we constantly change our minds and change the picture or hone in more on what we want to receive, and when we line our desires with that which we wish to experience, the law is working with us. So it's a law of co-responsiveness, co-respondence. I'm stumbling over my words here. We quite often think of this as the law of reciprocity, but the law of reciprocity is actually a part of the core of law of correspondence. Reciprocity is the idea that there is something in the universe already there in the realm of infinite possibility. We attach ourselves to that one thing that we wish to experience, and it becomes manifest to us. It's not something that we create. It's something that was already created in the first place. And so we are working back and forth. Reciprocity means back and forth. And so once again, it's a correspondence. Holmes describes the law of reciprocity as this. He says, God turns to us as we turn to him. There is a reciprocal action between the universal and the individual mind. The Spirit is ready to help us whenever we turn to it. The greatest lesson we can learn is the unity of love and law, the necessity of law in shaping a divine individuality, and the necessity of experience and awakening to this divine individuality. So we are working with Spirit, universal energy, constantly to create that which we wish to experience. Jesus taught that this is done to us as we really believe. All that we wish to experience is done to us as we truly believe that it will. And Jesus said the thought is ever father of the act. The thought comes first, and then the process, the creative process follows accordingly. Holmes says, through the principle of reciprocal action, man draws into his experience those conditions as experiences which are in direct correspondence to that to which his thought is attuned. If his thought is negative and destructive, he finds himself ill and suffering lack, for example. If his thought is centered in a contemplation of fullness, abundance, and the joyfulness of life, his experience will be in like nature. We pretty much understand that, don't we? But it's corresponding with universal energy that causes that to happen. It is not put upon us to be joyful, or to be sad, or to be challenged. It is our own thought processes corresponding with universal energy that makes that happen. The law is responsive to us. This is the reciprocal action. This is the law of life. Holmes says that today our thoughts cancel out the mistakes of yesterday by uprooting them and no longer indulging in them. They are not there. Past experiences are things that you hold on and carry through life with you. They have no reality, no validity, except that which you infuse into them. And by simply releasing them, they are no longer there. You are no longer corresponding with universal energy to create them anymore, so therefore they vanish into the nothingness from which they came in the first place. Holmes says Jesus did not teach an easy salvation. He taught a sure one. He did not teach a soft principle. He taught an immutable one, impartial, one that always works. It's a powerful thing. It's a powerful tool that we have to create that which we wish to experience simply by using our thoughts. Holmes says we cannot change the fact that whatever we put into mind will be reflected back to us. But we can change that which is reflected. We can uproot the old, we can implant the new, we can neutralize what is already there. In other words, change your thinking, change your life. And it immediately responds. As soon as you change your thoughts, your life is renewed. Hence we have that idea of being born again. I have a new thought, so therefore my life is starting over from scratch with a whole new idea. And if I can release all the stuff that happened in the past that I don't like, I am born again. I have a whole new life. Right now is the beginning of my whole new life. This is talked about repeatedly over and over and over again in the New Testament. In Romans, Ephesians, and James, you name it, in any one of the books, I took some of these quotes from the New Testament that talk about this. My favorite of them all is, "Be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind." Does that sound like a science of mind statement or what? I think the New Testament writers looked in the future and heard Ernest Holmes and said, "Be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind." That's all about who we are and what we do, isn't it? Another is, now is the time to awake out of sleep. Now is the time to awake out of sleep. If you want to change your life, change it right now. Don't wait until the alarm clock goes off. Do it now. It also says, now are we the sons of God. And I'm putting emphasis on that word, now are we the sons of God. We're not the sons of God when we die and go to heaven. We're not the sons of God when we end up being good people and we're worthy of it. We are the sons and daughters of God right here and right now where we are. The next one is, be strengthened with might by his spirit in the inner man. It's saying that the spirit of all that is within us. It is in the inner man. Here's one where I took several phrases and put them all together. There is one body and one spirit, one Lord, one faith, one baptism, one God and Father of all, who is above all and through all and in you all. And as you all, I'll add that one. There is one energy. And also this one is a great one. Let the mind be in us, which was in Christ Jesus. If we understand the true meaning of that statement, we know that there is one mind. There is one mind. Jesus used it, and we can use it as well. There is one mind. And the thing that made Jesus stand out to become the Christ Jesus was his ability to align with that, to be enlightened, to understand how to use it, and then teach everyone else how to do it as well. So let the mind be in us, which was also in Christ Jesus. The same energy and the power that he used in his life, we can do also because we share the same mind. Jesus didn't work the system. He recognized the process and carried it out habitually and effortlessly, daily, in his experience. He realized that love and law are elements of the same unified principle. Love and law are parts of the same principle. There is one unified field of energy in the universe, and we are it. We don't send our mental energy into the law because we are the law. We just simply hold energy, thoughts, and allow them to manifest. We hold them because we are the law. We don't actually put it someplace else other than where we are, because we are love. We are the law. We are one with the law. Our thoughts and beliefs are automatically infused with law action because there are no separations. There is no separation between us and the law. There's no separation between us and the infinite realm of possibilities. We can choose whatever we want and be it now. All of life is one intricate whole. It's that simple. Ernest Holmes says, when we think of ourselves as God knows us, then complete salvation will come to us. And God, how does God know us? God knows us as itself, expressing through us. So when we think of ourselves as God knows us, complete salvation and freedom is ours. He says, we are an unfolding principle of life. Wow. We are an unfolding principle of life, of truth, of perfect law and action. We wait for a more complete unfolding of our inner life. It's already within, the perfect way and the eternal truth. We wait for the unfolding of ourselves through the law inherent within our real nature. It is already here. We're waiting for it to happen. We're waiting for our good to come. We're waiting for our ship to come in. We're waiting for the lottery to fall into our laps. The truth is, it's already here. It's already within us. The full realm of all that God is, the abundance and the wealth and the wisdom of the universe is already within us. It's who we are. It's the truth of who we are. So, now is the time to wake.
So maybe you're already seeing how the law and the love are interwoven together, yes? If you didn't already see it. But I think it's exciting to see it over and over and over again. So I have some quotes and some paraphrases here that I couldn't just move on and in the book and not share these because they're just too good from the New Testament. And so you might want to close your eyes and just take these in. After each one, I'm going to pause briefly to let you just absorb it. Some of them you may be thinking as soon as you hear them, oh, I do that really well. Some of them you may think, oh, I could do that better. But whatever comes up, let it just be okay. The first one is suffering should teach us a lesson that would cause us to remain from making more mistakes. It carries a blessing with it when we learn how to garner knowledge from experience. There is no such thing as eternal damnation. There is ignorance of law or misuse of law. Still, God remains perfect. It is time to awaken from sleep, to see that life is neither separate from God nor different from good. Fill yourself up with God and maintain that mindset which brings only good to your life. When love and unity dwell within you, you manifest your truest nature. Unity means God in all, through all, and above all. Pray without ceasing and give thanks for everything. Remember, every thought is a prayer, and so you are always praying. And finally, from Romans and Ephesians, the renewing of the mind. The renewing of the mind is a scientific act. In Science of Mind, we say mental healing is both an established fact and a conscious act. Such beautiful truths. So important as we go out about the business of becoming God, of realizing our own Godness. As David said, and we both agreed that it fits in law and love, be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. I took this into an idea for becoming as God is by thinking to myself that we can pattern our mind according to the pattern of God. Those qualities that we see God as, we are to pattern our mind in alignment with those. pattern your mind according to the pattern of God, of life, of love. And Joyce Meyer says, don't tell God you have a big problem. Tell your problem you have a big God. So you know there are many ways that we become this. One of them is to realize that we are, each one of us, an everyday miracle. And every single time that we are able to feel good about the way we handled the situation or the decision we made or the choice we made, that is a miracle. You represent the transformation of the renewing of your mind. And while some say that God works in mysterious ways, I do not believe that God is a mystery at all. I believe that God is perfectly logical, God is scientifically provable, and God is the power of the union of love and law. Ernest Holmes says, and I noticed David had a greatest lesson too, and you probably notice if you read him much, he says that a lot, the greatest lesson. So here's another greatest lesson from Ernest Holmes. We have to learn is the unity of love and law. God is love, God is law. Love and law are omnipresent, ever available to each one of us. The love aspect is the divine givingness in that responsiveness and the correspondence that David talked about, and the freedom that Frank talked about. The eternal outpouring of Spirit through its creation. That's God through you, as you live life. And God is the law of cause and effect. And it is ever playing itself out in our lives. There is one life. It is good, and it is yours right now. Use it well, and so it is.
So it is.